Many growers know to look at the trichomes of their cannabis plant to determine harvest, but many wonder what should they be actually looking for. Well, in this Tobacco University video, I'm going to go over some great images and give you that kind of step-by-step guide on what to look for in your trichomes to determine your peak harvest. All right, let's get into understanding visual cues of cannabis trichome development to maximize harvest. So we want to monitor the color change. So by monitoring the change in color of the gland heads, particularly, the grower can evaluate the ripeness of the flower pistillate plants. Using a 30x loupe or higher is advised for some other form of magnification of the trichomes for close visual inspection. Now it's important to say that we're monitoring the color change. So this does not mean you just look at them once and go from there. It's great if you look at them in the early stages when hopefully there'll be a clear coloration. We're going to see they're going to progress to this cloudy coloration and then ultimately this amber coloration if they go a little bit far. So we're going to see this kind of stage and progression, but that's the general trend that those trichomes will be going through. So first off, those stages, and this kind of highlights it here as well, early to middle flowering, resin heads will be mostly clear. You can see this is a great example of a mostly clear head right here. This would be another one as well. During the final phases of bloom cycle, the trichomes will transition from a clear to kind of a cloudy milky white color and eventually turn to an amber color. So what's that cloudy milky white look like? We have a couple here that are in focus that are showing that kind of cloudiness. Here's kind of one as well, and as you can see there's more, but they're kind of out of focus in the background. Most seasons growers say the time to harvest is when the bulbous heads, which is the top portion here, are cloudy with a few amber ones here and there, about a 70 to 30% mix. What do those amber ones look like where they're kind of the most obvious in coloration change? And we can see this on this particular image. It's not like everything changes at once. We see some that are clear, some that are also in the cloudy stage, some that are also in the amber stage, all in the same structure here. So this is why it's important to visually check your plants to see those transitions that are occurring and see that change or that shift in percentages. So what do those kind of clear trichomes kind of look like here? Well, in the early stage of development, the clear color can indicate they're not, quote, full of cannabinoids and terpenes. You can think of the clear color meaning that they are, quote, empty. Now, it doesn't mean that they're completely empty when they're clear, but just kind of as a visual way to kind of correlate and remember. Clear, you can think kind of empty. There's nothing in there, so to speak. And again, not true from a botanical standpoint, but that kind of gives a great visual clue of like, oh, it's clear, it's empty, I can see right through it, not looking, there's nothing there to see. Buds should not be harvested at this time because at this point they're basically immature. It's before their kind of peak maturity and they lack the desired compounds. Now this doesn't mean we'll be harvesting when there might be a couple that are still clear, but if the vast majority are clear, hold off on the harvest process. Now we get to those cloudy trichomes. We kind of see here different degrees of cloudy. When trichomes start to go from a transparent to kind of to a translucent transparency, this is the sign that harvest is getting closer. Remember, transparent is able to clearly see through. Translucent, where we're getting that cloudy milkiness, and then opaque would almost be that amber color where you're kind of blocking light. This cloudy look, growers can think of the trichome becoming full of cannabinoids. Again, that's botanically true, but here we can see that cloudy appearance, that what's giving it the cloudiness, we can think of it as being the cannabinoids that are accumulating. The next step is that opaque kind of amber color, and it's thought to give, in some cases, to give that energetic high, even though it may not be fully correlated with the coloration to the after effects. What does that amber coloration kind of look like? Well, when we get to those amber like heads, they're progressing from that cloudiness to white color of trichomes will change to the yellow-brown amber color. Waiting for some of the trichomes to go to this coloration is a good sign that harvest of the cannabinoids can be maximized. So it's okay if a few go to this amber color. A lot of people think, oh, it's too late. It's okay if a few go to that. It's a sign you get the vast majority in that milky white coloration. However, if nearly all the trichomes are this color at harvest, this may mean peak harvest was kind of missed, leading to some degradation of the internal components. It's thought to give a body high with some people, but here we're seeing a couple amber, and that's perfectly fine. It's a sign probably getting right close to that peak harvest. Now, that mixed trichomes, as I mentioned, they all don't turn necessarily on the same day at the same flip of a switch. Since all the trichomes will not change from cloudy to amber at the same time, it can be best to aim for a mixed coloration to determine your exact harvest time. Now, the exact percentage of cloudy and amber may be impacted by variety, state of development, and your kind of ability of timing as well. So when we have that kind of mix here, we do see some that are kind of clear, some that are cloudy, some that are amber. We want to kind of make a judgment call as far as when we're going to determine that peak harvest. It's usually when the trichomes are a mix of the colorations that I described here. Now, kind of that general summary, if you want kind of sectioned out this picture here, want that general summary of clear, cloudy, or amber heads, you can look at that kind of general summary image here, as well as going back through some of the other images on the slides to help you determine when you're looking at your cannabis plants the exact peak of harvest, so you're maximizing the cannabinoids and terpenes produced without getting into any loss due to overripeness or degradation there. Hopefully this Tobacco University video was helpful in determining your peak harvest and maximizing your harvest as well.